the barbecue. Mammy Pig, Peppa and George are all in the house getting ready. And they're getting ready to go on a special barbecue trip in the car. So Mammy Pig says, "Hey George, are you ready yet?" So Mammy Pig gets George ready and shouts up to Peppa, says, "Peppa, are you ready yet?" "Have you got changed yet?" said Mammy Pig. So Peppa shouts down, said, "Yeah, I've just finished." So Peppa, George and Mammy Pig are all ready and waiting for Daddy Pig to pick him up in the car. "So move out of the way, Peppa," said Mammy, "so Daddy can pick us up." So Daddy Pig drives in with his car and says, "Come on guys, jump in. It's time to go and have a barbecue and have a day out," said Daddy Pig. So Mammy Pig waits for George and Peppa to get into the car while Daddy waits. So Mammy Pig is last getting in, and with a helping hand, the top is put on, and they can make their way to their destination to have a really cool barbecue. So Peppa said, "Come on Daddy, go." So Daddy Pig drives off and they get to their new location. "We're here guys," said Daddy Pig. So they arrived at the destination, which is a quiet little spot that they like to have a barbecue now and again at. So Mammy Pig gets out first, followed by Peppa, George and Daddy Pig. So with a helping hand, the top is placed back on and they roll out their little cover. "So this is just to give us a bit of shade from the sun," said Daddy Pig. "So where's the barbecue stuff?" So Daddy Pig goes off and gets the barbecue set, while Mammy Pig, George and Peppa all wait. Daddy Pig comes with the new barbecue. "Wow, look what we got on here. We got fish, corn and eggs." Mammy Pig said, "Where are we going to sit, Daddy Pig?" "Oh, yeah, I forgot the table." So Daddy Pig goes back off and gets the table. "There we go. And I've also put the plates, knives and fork on there as well for you." "How cool is that?" said Daddy Pig. So Mammy Pig gets ready to eat her food. So does Peppa, followed by George. And George gets so excited he can't control himself and he falls over. So Mammy Pig said, "Get off the table, George, that's very naughty." So Daddy Pig makes sure George is okay. "We need to bring a bigger table next time," said Mammy. So Daddy Pig goes off to cook the food and to set it out on the table. So finally, Daddy Pig has finished cooking the food, leaving Mammy Pig, Daddy Pig, George and Peppa all to enjoy their barbecue lunch. Don't forget to subscribe. The Muddy Puddle. Granddad Dog, Peppa Pig and George were all outside the garage, and after a hard day's work, there's been muddy puddles gathered in front of the garage. So George says, "Hey Peppa, look at these cool puddles. Shall we jump in them?" Peppa said, "No." Granddad Dog said, "You can jump in them as long as you clean it up after you." So with that in mind, George jumps into the first puddle, gets really dirty, jumps into the second puddle and gets really dirty, and jumps into the third puddle. And he calls Peppa over and says, "Peppa, come on, join in." So Peppa joins in and jumps into the muddy puddles as well. And as Peppa's on to the second puddle, he can see Thomas and Percy come in. So Thomas comes over and says, "Hey, Peppa, what are you doing?" Peppa replied saying, "We're just having some fun jumping in these puddles before we clean them up. Do you want to join us?" said Peppa. So Thomas got really excited and said, "Yeah, I'd love to join in. I'll have to drive through because I can't jump through them." So George jumps into the last muddy puddle and stands back and watches Peppa, followed by Thomas and Percy. So Peppa's onto the last puddle, and Thomas comes steaming through the muddy puddles, saying, "This is a load of fun. We should have done this earlier." So Peppa moves out of the way to help Thomas get through the puddles safely. So Thomas goes through the puddles and has a load of fun at the same time. He said, "I'm really glad I popped in to see you guys." So now everyone's jumped through the puddles. It's time to clean the puddles up. So Peppa starts to clear up the puddles with a helping hand, of course. So now the puddles have been cleaned. The garage is now clear for the next customer to come along. Percy said, "That was loads of fun, Grandad. Thanks for leaving us jump through the puddles before we cleaned them up." So Peppa, George, Granddad Dog, Thomas and Percy all had a load of fun today. They jumped through the puddles and they also cleaned the garage at the same time. The tea party. Firemansam, Peppa Pig, Granddad Dog and Postman Pat and George all came round to see Grandma. And she's got a really cool Peppa Pig tea set to pour some tea into. So Jess is having a look around. There's no tea in there, she sees. So Grandma says, "There's no tea in there yet, so I'll pour some tea in there now." So with a helping hand, the tea is poured into the Peppa Pig cups, one by one, until all 4 cups are full. "Who should go first?" said Peppa. So Grandma checks all the tea is in the cups, and Peppa comes over and says, "Wow, great job, Grandma." So Fireman Sam comes forward and chooses his chosen cup. Who's next? Postman Pat's next. Which cups is Postman Pat gonna pick? So Postman Pat goes over with Jess to pick the furthest cup. Oh, Jess is getting stuck in already. Wow. So Granddad Dog comes over and squeezes in between Postman Pat and Fireman Sam. So who's next? It's George. George is next. George nearly jumps in the cup. So it's just Peppa Pig to come now. So Peppa comes over and stands by her cup. So Grandma said, "You can all start drinking now if you want. It's a tea party." So Postman Pat, Fireman Sam, Grandad Dog, Peppa Pig and George were all treated to a tea party by Grandma, and they're all enjoying their tea. "Don't forget to subscribe," said Peppa. Grandma Pig said to Peppa, "Hey Peppa, George, would you like to make some Hello Kitty donuts today from some Play-Doh?" Peppa got really excited and said, "Yeah, I'd love to make some Hello Kitty donuts." George is really excited as well. So Grandma goes off and gets the molds for the Hello Kitty donuts. And she also goes off and gets the Play-Doh as well. So Grandma says, "Here's the Play-Doh and the molds. Who's going to put it into the mold?" said Grandma. So pick up the mold and the Play-Doh, Peppa. So with a helping hand, Peppa shapes the Play-Doh into a sausage shape and places it into the mold. By doing this, Peppa is creating the Hello Kitty head, shaped as a donut. Peppa said, "Come on, Peppa, hurry up. I want to see what it looks like." So Peppa continues to push the Play-Doh into the mold with her feet. She said, "This is loads of fun." And then George joins in. George jumps on top as well. By doing this, we push in the Play-Doh into the mold. So with a helping hand, Peppa gets the mold out of the shape. So there we have our Play-Doh Hello Kitty donut. So Grandma said, "It's a bit plain at the moment. Should we put some icing on it?" So Grandma goes off and gets the icing to go on top of the donut. So shaping the icing to go onto the donut is a simple process. You just shape the icing in the shape of the donut and place it on top. Peppa said, "Hurry up. I can't wait to see what it's like at the end." Peppa sometimes needs a helping hand with these kinds of things. "You can't do everything on your own," said Grandma. "Sometimes it's nice to be helped." So carefully placing the icing on top of the donut to give the correct shape, George stands on top of the icing to make sure it's all level. Also Peppa jumps on top as well, just to make sure it's all the same shape. So we have our icing on top of the donut. "It's still looking a bit plain," Grandma says. "What else could we do? We could use our cool plunger," said Peppa Pig. So Peppa went off and got the pink icing to go in the plunger. So Peppa places the pink icing in the plunger and gently squeezes it onto the donut. "This could be like our 100,000 sprinkles," said George. So carefully placing the Play-Doh onto the donut is a load of fun, said Peppa. "Do you want to try, George?" As Peppa places. "Oh no, Grandma's fallen over. Quick, quick, get up, Grandma." Grandma said, "I'm okay. I just slipped." George said, "Wow, how cool is that?" "Shall we cut it?" said Peppa. Grandma said, yeah, okay, we'll cut it now to see what it looks like. So Grandma comes over and cuts the donut for Peppa and George. You can't cut it on your own, guys. You're too small still, said Grandma. So we cut a little piece for Peppa, and we also keep some of the sprinkles on as well. Wow, Peppa said, that's a great piece, Grandma, thank you. So we cut a little bit more for George, and then everyone's happy. Wow, George has got his piece as well. Look how cool that is. So Grandma, Peppa and George created a Hello Kitty donut with some cool Play-Doh and had loads of fun. And everyone's got their own piece of the donut. Don't forget to subscribe. Granddad Dog and George had just finished cleaning the garage when Granddad Dog said, "Hey Peppa, we just had a phone call from Thomas and friends, and they said they need to be filled up with some fuel." So George got really excited and said, "Wow, I can't wait to see Thomas. I haven't seen him for a while. Who's coming?" He said, "I'm not sure who's with Thomas." He says, "Here they are now," said Granddad Dog. So over comes Percy, Thomas, and Stanley. Wow. "Hey guys," Percy said. Thomas said the same as well. "Hey guys, how are you?" So George comes over to see Percy and says, "Hi Percy. Hi Thomas. Hi Stanley. How are you guys? I haven't seen you for a long time." And all the trains replied, "We are great. We really need some fuel so we can get on with the job though." And Grandad Dog, with a helping hand. Oh no, Grandad fell over in excitement. So Grandad Dog filled up Stanley first. George said, "Hey guys, looking great," while Grandad Dog filled up Thomas. And then last but not least, he finished off with Percy. So there you go guys, you've all got full tanks now. "Your fuel tanks are full," said Grandad Dog. So all the trains thanked Grandad Dog at the same time, saying, "Thanks, Grandad Dog." So George said, "Hey guys, I'd love to come for a ride. Do you think you could take me and drop me off at Peppa Pig's house?" So George tries to jump on the back of Stanley. So with a helping hand, George squeezes on top of Stanley. "It's not the safest thing to do," said Grandad Dog. "Be careful guys, drive slow." So Percy, followed by Thomas and Stanley, all go off to drop George off, leaving Grandad Dog to clean the garage up on his own. "Don't forget to subscribe," said Grandad Dog. Peppa Pig and George were playing, and George says to Peppa, "Oh Peppa, I'd love to go for a ride." And then Peppa turns around and says, look who's coming." It's the Greendale train, and who's on it? We have Firemansam on there, and AJ. So Firemansam gets off and says, "Hey guys, how are you?" Peppa says, "I'm great, Firemansam, thanks." And then George says, "I'm great too." And AJ comes off and says, "Oh Peppa, how have you been?" And Peppa replies saying, "Wow, your train is looking super clean today." George cheekily jumps on the train, and Peppa, messing about, climbs on the back of the train. And then Fireman Sam says, "I can see you." Oh no, Fireman Sam fell over. Fireman Sam said, "Peppa, try to be careful up there. It's dangerous playing on the back of trains." So AJ comes over and said, "Hey George, shall we all jump on the train?" So George jumps off the train, AJ jumps on and stands inside. So George stands next to AJ, and then Peppa says, "How are we going to fit on there, Fireman Sam? There's no room for us." Fireman Sam said, "I got a cool idea. Hang on, wait there a second." So Fireman Sam went off to get some Play-Doh. So Fireman Sam said, "We'll put the Play-Doh on the roof, which will allow us to stick to the roof and be super safe, and we'll have a cool seat and a great view." So with a helping hand, the Play-Doh is placed on top of the train from Greendale. So Peppa says, "Let me jump on first, Fireman Sam." So Peppa jumps on the back of the train and sits down at the front, at the top, shortly followed by Fireman Sam. So by using a little bit of Play-Doh, everyone can get on the train safely, and we can all have great fun together. So off they go to the Greendale station. "Oh no, we're going the wrong way," said Fireman Sam. "Here we go. Don't forget to subscribe." Fireman Sam and Tom Thomas were outside having a chat, when Fireman Sam said to Tom Thomas, "Peppa's coming round with a new truck today for us to have a look at. I'm going to take me out for a drive. So I can't wait for that." So Tom Thomas gets really excited and says, "Yay! I can't wait to see a new truck. I bet it's really cool." So Fireman Sam and Tom Thomas wait and keep waiting. And here she is now. So Peppa comes round in a new fire truck. "How cool is that?" Peppa said. So Fireman Sam looks, as well as Thomas, says, "Wow, that's a really clean truck you've got there, Peppa." So Peppa gets out with a helping hand and says, "Wow, what do you think of my truck, guys? Go and have a look." So Fireman Sam and Tom Thomas look around the truck and say, "Wow, look at that hose. How cool is that? You've got a fire extinguisher and a bucket on the back, and the ladder could help us get on top. Wow, Peppa fell over." So Peppa shows Fireman Sam how the ladder works. "Come and join me, guys." "Oh, she fell over again." "She is way too excited today." "Be careful," said Tom Thomas. So Fireman Sam goes up the ladder and says, "Come on, Thomas, join us up here." So Thomas comes up, looks at the side. "Look at this hose on the side you've got. It's such a long hose," said Tom Thomas. So Fireman comes down the ladder and says, "Come on, Peppa, take me for a drive. Let's see what this baby can do." So Peppa comes down and stands by Fireman Sam. So Peppa gets into the fire engine and is ready to take Fireman Sam on a cool little drive. "Where are we going to go?" Peppa said. So Fireman Sam said, "Let's just go around Pontypandy today and see what we find." So Fireman Sam gets into the fire truck and off they go. And Peppa goes forward and comes right around, leaving Tom Thomas on his own. "But they're coming back," Tom Thomas said. "Right, we're really going now," Peppa said. "Don't forget to subscribe." The special delivery. Fireman Sam and Peppa Pig have just finished cleaning Fireman Sam's truck. Peppa said, "Fireman Sam, we've done a great job today cleaning the truck. It's looking really clean." So Fireman Sam does a few checks. So he goes around the fire engine just to make sure it's up to standard, because you can't drive around in a dirty truck. "Oh, we did a great job," said Fireman Sam. So Fireman Sam just remembered, "We got a special delivery coming today, Peppa. Do you want to stay around to see what it is?" So Peppa said, "Yeah, I'd love to." So Fireman Sam and Peppa Pig waited for Postman Pat to arrive with the special delivery. "Here's Postman Pat now," said Fireman Sam. So Postman Pat and Jess are on time as always. So Jess jumps out of the van and quickly goes and sees Peppa. And Peppa said, "Hey Jess, I'm really happy to see you. I didn't realise he was coming today." So Postman Pat gets out of the van and he's really excited, and he falls over. He's so excited to see Peppa Pig and Fireman Sam. And he says, "Hey guys, how are you? Here's your special delivery." So Postman Pat brings special delivery for Fireman Sam. And he said, "Oh, will you open it now while I'm here?" said Postman Pat. So Peppa and Fireman Sam are really happy that the special delivery is on time. So Fireman Sam said to Peppa, "You can open it." So with a helping hand, Peppa opens the surprise delivery. "Wow," said Peppa, "you've got a cool toy car. It's a Porsche," said Peppa. And Fireman Sam said, "Yeah, I'm collecting them now. I've got a few others to collect. But how cool is that?" So Peppa goes over and has a closer look and says, "The detail is really nice on it, Fireman Sam." So Fireman Sam, Peppa Pig, Postman Pat all get to see Fireman Sam's new toy car. What a cool car it is. "Don't forget to subscribe," said Peppa. Peppa and George went to the park to go on some rides. So George says to Peppa, "Hey Peppa, what should we go on first? Should we go on the swings or should we go on the seesaw?" said George. Peppa said, "Let's go on the swings first. I love the swings," Peppa said. George said, "That's a great idea, Peppa." So Peppa jumps on one of the swings with a helping hand, and George follows. So George comes round and sits on one of the swings. So once they're both on the swings, they are ready to do some swinging. So they go slowly at first, just to get used to it. And Peppa said, "Wow, this is loads of fun, George." "Oh no, George fell off, look." "Oh no." George said, "I just can't fit on it, Peppa. I'm a little bit too small still." So Peppa said, "Are you okay, George?" George said, "I'm fine." "Right, I think we'll have to go on something else," Peppa said, "if you can't fit on the swings." So looking around the park, there's a seesaw. So Peppa said, "We'll have to go on there next." So Peppa and George waited for the other kids to finish on the seesaw. And then Peppa jumps on with a helping hand. And George follows. George said, "I can't wait to sit on you. This is going to be a load of fun." Peppa said, "Come on, George, let's go." So up and down George and Peppa went, having loads of fun. "Wow, look at that. You can fit on you just fine, George." "We'll have to stick to this," said Peppa, "until you're a little bit bigger so we can go on the swings together." So Peppa and George had a load of fun on the seesaw. "And now it's time to get off," said Peppa. So George jumps off the seesaw and waits for Peppa. George said, "Come on, Peppa. It's time to go home now." So Peppa said, "Yeah, let's go home and have some food. I'm sure Mammy and Daddy Pig can't wait to see us. And we are really hungry. And we'll come next time." So George said, "When can we come next?" "We'll come now in a couple of days after we've been to school and had some food. Don't forget to subscribe." Peppa Pig and George were outside the shop. They were just going to get a drink when Peppa and George spot Fireman Sam. And Fireman Sam was also going for a drink. So Fireman Sam said, "Hey guys, how are you? I suppose you're going in for a drink, are you?" Peppa and George said, "Yeah, let's go in." So Peppa, George and Fireman Sam all went into the shop. And Fireman Sam gets his drink, pays for it, and then he goes outside to wait for Peppa and George. So George goes and gets a drink and says, "Peppa, can you grab the drink up the top for me?" So Peppa goes over to help George. She gets George's drink from the top shelf and then goes and pays for it. So once they've paid for their drinks, they head back outside. And Fireman Sam says, "Hey guys, where are you off now?" Peppa said, "Grandpa's coming with his train. Do you want to come with us, Fireman Sam?" Fireman Sam said, "That would be great." And George says, "Look, there he is now." So over comes Grandpa with his cool train. So everyone moves out of the way so Grandpa can get past. "Are you going to come with us, Fireman Sam?" Peppa said. Fireman Sam said, "Yeah, I'd love to," and gets really excited. So Fireman Sam waits and jumps in the train. He goes in the yellow carriage at the back. Now it's George's turn. "Go on, George, jump in." So George goes next to Fireman Sam. And then Peppa jumps in the blue carriage at the front. Grandpa says, "Are you all in tight, guys? Let's go." "Oh no, not that way, Grandpa. Let's go forward." So Grandpa Pig, Peppa Pig, George and Fireman Sam all went for a ride in Grandpa's cool train. "Don't forget to subscribe," said Fireman Sam.